Scientologist.
I think it's a privilege to call yourself a Scientologist with anything. You know you're the only one that can really help. The orgs are there to help. We have a responsibility. It's not just the orgs. We are the authorities on getting people. Because I won't hesitate to put ethics in on someone else. Who love drugs. We are the authorities on the mind. We are the authorities on improving condition. It is the time now. Now is the time. I mean, if you're a Scientologist, you see life, you see things the way they are. The thing is, I just go through that tech, and it's not how to run from an SP. It's PTSSP, how to shatter suppression, confront shatter suppression. You apply it, it's like, boom.
In this episode of The Secret Church, we delve into the mystery of the so-called Hole, an office building turned prison on the grounds of the organization's headquarters. Investigators Marcus Shawn and Jonathan Daniels interview escapees of the institution to shed further light on the church's concentration camp.
Scientology is a religion, well, more of a cult. I say this because, although Scientology does have the fundamental beliefs of any other religion, this is overshadowed by the many controversies that surround the church, or if you would call it a church. Scientology has little to no outside contact with the world, control daily aspects of life, over-expensive fees that make it nearly impossible to get out, and chilling stories of physical, verbal, and sexual abuse are one of the many things that go on here, on account of former members and escapees that would give it the proper name of a cult.
Chris Brady was previously an executive in the Scientology community, until his highly publicized escape from the cult in 2009. Brady, now a best-selling author, talks to our team about his experiences.
Scientology is not a church, no. They're more of a business, and a ruthless one at that. I'm sure I don't have to explain all the stories of physical abuse, sexual abuse, etc.
The Hole is exactly what it sounds like. It's basically where disgraced members of the Sea Org compound are sent for punishment. The Sea Org compound is a Navy-based facility. Many consider it more of a business or a paramilitary group than a religious group.
The folks down at Sea Org, frankly, are insane, launching these ridiculous investigations against anyone who criticizes them, not allowing external marriage, and the monstrous ways they punish their own members.
The Rehabilitation Force Project, or RPF, is Sea Org's detention system. The basic outline is that when you do bad or screw up, you're put to hard labor all day, every day, with the exception of a few hours to study Scientology. This can last for up to a year.
Supposedly, the goal of using the RPF is for members to earn their redemption, but many on the outside see the RPF as simply a way for Sea Org to exploit cheap labor out of its members.
The Hole is a former office building situated in the Gold Base in California, which is also Scientology's main headquarters. The Hole serves as a prison or a concentration camp, or as they would probably consider it, a rehabilitation center.
Curtis Campbell was one of the first inmates of the Hole and worked closely with David Miscavige, the leader of the Church of Scientology.
So you were there when the Hole was born, correct?
Yes.
So why don't you tell me how that all went down?
Well, Dave was on an angry rampage because some lawsuit went south.
David Miscavige is the leader of the Church of Scientology. He is the second leader to take up the mantle after L. Ron Hubbard, who founded the church originally.
They went to the American Medical Association. They arranged an informant to go into our headquarters here in Washington, D.C., and infiltrate the organization over the next 5 years. I have documents on this too. They wanted to get somebody in the church to recommend medical treatment. Couldn't get them to do it. Walk in and say, I want to be cured medically. People wouldn't do it.
Well, he's been praised for many achievements in his field, you could say, but he has also been accused by many of cases of abuse, humiliation, and generally just being kind of a weird guy.
So he gathered up about 50 of us, locked us in a room. After that, he locked us up in a different building, and then eventually he locked us up in an old secured CMO building.
For how long?
A couple of weeks. I don't remember exactly. But after that, Sea Org started sending all their problems down there too.
The RPF was very much still in effect for Sea Org to send their regular troublemakers, but the hole became a place for special circumstances. While many inmates are held captive for years, Ava Moreau was imprisoned for 7 weeks, but that didn't save her from experiencing the atrocities within.
So you weren't in the hole for as long as others, but you still had horrible things happen to you. Would you care to explain?
Well, it was just a normal day. I was working in the office when these 2 guards climbed in through my window and dragged me out of the room.
I'm sorry, what exactly was it that they did to you?
I sent out an email to a few coworkers criticizing David Miscavige for his emphasis on extreme fundraising.
And that enraged him enough to send you to the hole?
Correct.
I see. Sorry, please continue.
They brought me to this old building, which I later learned was the hole. It was infested with ants, and David had turned off the AC, so in the summer it was unbearably hot. We were fed this barely edible slop that they brought in on golf carts. With a number of us, there was barely enough room to sleep more than a couple centimeters away from each other. That was my life for 7 weeks.
I see.
And then there were the confessions.
We had to publicly tell our peers our deepest, darkest secrets and whatever bad thoughts we had about Scientology. If not, they would torture us.
Eventually you had your peers screaming at you to confess things you hadn't even done. So you just started making things up. Stealing, having affairs, whatever.
Ava was one of many who lived through and allegedly are still living in these conditions.
Would you give us some idea, in your own words, of after you're in there for 4 or 5 or 6 weeks, how do you feel as a human being?
You feel completely degraded, very, very sort of terrified that you may have to go through another one of these confessions, or maybe that you would get beaten up, or you're also, because you haven't been sleeping, you're in a horrific mental state.
And you were a 40-something-year-old woman with a very, very respected job.
Yes.
We were made to do essentially the same kind of work we were doing before.
But obviously under very different conditions.
Tremendous stress and pressure. It was a lot of paperwork.
The Scientology community denies the existence of the hole, as they would. It's also not the only controversial topic they've tried to cover up, obviously. But the problem isn't the people in charge. It's the regular people who follow these maniacs. It's a complicated issue.